All right, everybody, this is the official recording, and this is Decorating with Gemstones, how to use your beautiful crystals to holistically decorate your home. All right, so I'm Tae Queen. I am a holistic life coach, intuit, herbalist, gemstone consultant, and the owner of Gemineye Creations. So welcome to Gemineye Creations monthly conference call, and again, this is something that will be happening every month, and this call will also be recorded, of course, and is being recorded for your listening convenience. All we ask is that all new callers mute your phones by pressing *6 as you enter the conference call, just so that there's no disturbances. So thank you, everybody who's tuned in, and thank you so much for your promptness. I love people who are on time. I really do, and I thank you so much for your participation in all of this. So without any further ado, we're going to get everything started. And any new listeners, again, as you're coming in, just please and welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're just going to ask that you mute your phone by pressing *6, or you can use your manual mute button if you feel so inclined. And thank you so much for calling in again. All right, so let's get this thing started. Again, like I said, I'm Tae Queen, the owner of Gemineye Creations, and I started this conference call thing just to really get out a lot more information on crystals. I really love working with my clients, and it's one of my passions. So as far as decorating with gemstones goes, I know a lot of you get your crystals and you really don't know what to do with them. So the first and initial thing that is really important with crystals is understanding how they work. So to understand or be made aware of the innate consciousness of crystals is basically the ultimate key in unlocking their greatest potential and any interaction that you have with them. So you must first understand their value as energy and as self-organizing mechanisms. Now that sounds really advanced, but it's not, so I'm going to break that down for you a little bit later. But their primal yet powerful connection to aligning and organizing matter. So that's exactly what their mechanism and their main function is, to organize the molecules, free radicals, whether they be ions, whether they be whatever is in the air, whatever in the atmosphere around you. That's their main goal, and that's their main function. So how they affect our inner as well as our outer beings and how they contribute to our evolutionary process are all paramount in utilizing them for their highest good. Without understanding crystals, we can never fully utilize them for what they are made to be. How they work, where to place them, and what properties they possess are all but hints to unlocking your inner creativity. It is your intuitive nature that will fully process and develop a relationship with these sacred beings. So open your mind, relax, get out a notepad, and listen as we discuss decorating with gemstones, how to use your beautiful crystals to holistically decorate your home. So the first place that I really want to get started with all of this is, again, at the beginning, with understanding crystals and their properties, how to use them, how to work with them. And again, I hope that this is comprehensive enough, but again, at the end, we will have a Q&A session, so if you guys have any questions, you can kind of jot those down really quickly, and I'll be able to answer those there. Peace and blessings. Thank you so much for tuning in. All we ask is that you please mute your phone during the presentation portion by pressing *6. And at the end, we'll have a Q&A session so that everybody can ask their questions. So understanding gemstone therapy. How do crystals work? Now, it can be a little bit out there because it's very, very scientific, and it's also very metaphysical simultaneously. So sometimes it can get a little bit wordy, and these concepts can kind of elude you, but for all intents and purposes, I'm going to try and keep it as basic and as simple as possible. So basically, they're self-organizing mechanisms. Now, what are self-organizing mechanisms? Basically, that means that when a crystal comes into being, it forms itself out of other materials or other matter. So how crystals form is in a very, very specific and patterned way. Now, each crystal's pattern or molecular structure is determined by their particular classifications. And their classifications could be quartz, it could be calcite, it could be all these different names that we have for the different gemstones, jasper, all these other different names. But at the end of the day, what matters is their structure and what they're made out of. So they have properties based on the elemental structure that they're organized under. Now, the properties are both based on not only the structural elements, some are hexagonal, some have rhomboids or rhombozoids. Now, I'm not trying to go over anybody's head here, but that's like basically geometry 101, your different geometric shapes or geometric patterns that you can find inside of the crystals. So that's one of the elements in which we would classify or understand the properties of these crystals by. And so the elemental structure would also include their different components or makeup. And the elemental makeups would be composed of different elements like you would actually find in chemistry on the chart of elements, which would be like hydrogen, phosphorus, magnesium, copper, calcium, zinc, all these different things. These are the elemental components that actually make up the crystals themselves. And they are just a mineralized and solid form of those particular energies. So that's when you start talking about the power of manifestation, how these crystals are coming from the form of elemental components, which are basically from the gases of the planet and all these other different things, and they're coming together to form pressurized and dense versions of themselves as crystals or gemstones. So they're really, really powerful, and they're really amazing tools that you can utilize. Their properties are derivative of their crystalline composition as well as elemental components, and each crystal stimulates the corresponding compounds within your own being or the crystals inside of you. So basically, when we're working with crystals as a form of being able to transmute energies within ourselves, within our lives, and within our atmosphere, we're utilizing the crystalline components within the crystal to correspond with the crystalline components inside of ourselves through the law of correspondence, which is one of the universal laws that actually dictates and governs the way things work here in the third dimensional reality. So that's a very basic overview of how crystals work, the science of it, the hoopla, and blah, blah, blah. That's as far as I'm going to go into the scientific aspect. Again, I want to keep this as simple as possible, as much information as you can grasp from that. That's amazing. But also, I want you to really pay attention to the practical aspects of what I'm going to be saying. So step 3 is actually charging and dedicating your stones. Now, we're going to, how does that kind of correlate to decorating with your gemstones? I'm here to learn where you put them, Tae. What are you talking about charging them? Well, it's really important that wherever you put the stones, that they actually have the energy and their highest energy potential being utilized. So the highest energetic potential that you can utilize them under is after they've been freshly charged and freshly dedicated. So each stone that you get, especially from Gemineye Creations, you know what I mean? I don't know about the other places you're getting your crystals. Oftentimes they're just kind of left to the side, especially like crystal shops, or if you've dug them out the ground, you don't have to do anything with them because they're fresh from the earth and they're already pre-charged. But if you're buying them from a vendor, you want to make sure you clear, charge, and dedicate your stones. So what is that process going to be like? Well, clearing is basically going to wipe off any negative, unnecessary energy that you don't want. You don't know who was touching the stones before. You don't know who looked at them and what kind of energy they had. So you just want to be safe and make sure that you clear off that energy. Charging your stones can also be done simultaneously, which is reinvigorating them with the highest potential of their energy. So one of the first ways in which you can do this, which is I like to refer to as one of the most common methods, and this is one of the most commonly utilized methods that we use at Gemineye Creations, it's actually with salt water. So all you're going to do is take your crystal and place it into salt water. And leave it in there for at least 6 hours. The longer, the better, but you don't want to go too long. You don't want to be leaving it in there for like 7 days or anything like that. 6 hours, I say 2 days at the maximum, and make sure you thoroughly dry them afterwards so that no salt residue is left on them, because that salt residue can actually corrode them. If it's a corrodable stone, which some stones are, like I'd say like kayanite is a corrodable stone, calcite, in certain formations is easily corrodable. You don't want to place those types of stones into the salt water. So what do you do with them when you want to charge them or clear them? So the second method is a really useful and easy, simple way. This is one of the simplest things you can do, which is to place them under the sun or a full moon, and let them charge for about the same amount of time, 6 hours to 12 hours, around that amount of time. And you just leave them in pure direct sunlight. You can do this by placing it in the windowsill. You can place them directly outside if you feel that confident that nobody's going to take your crystals. I tend to be that bold. It's my property. So I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm leaving it out here. But and for the most part, most people don't know what they are, so they won't even know to take them. But at the same time, if you don't feel that comfortable or you don't have that much space outside, again, you can always put them in the windowsill. That's another way that you can charge them and make sure that that particular stone that you're using doesn't fade in the sunlight. Now, there are some stones, again, that will fade in the sunlight. You want to make sure that it's not one of those stones. Now, if your stone cannot, for whatever reason, be placed in salt water or will fade in the sunlight, and you don't want to place it in the sun or in the moon, you can also make sure that you have your third option, which is to earth them. Basically, it's the whole concept of like how you got them, digging them out of the earth. You just place them, dig a little hole, place them in the hole, cover it back up, mark that spot. Make sure you clearly mark it with an X, whatever you want to mark it with. I don't know if it's your buried treasure or whatever. You just put a stone or put a little stick in it. Make sure you realize where that placement is, or very, very close to a place that you can remember, or whatever the case may be. And that way you know where you buried it, but then leave it in there for a day or longer. Make sure, again, like you said, you remember where you put your stones, and then dig them up afterwards. They'll have a great, bright, vibrant energy. Just rinse them off, of course, because they're going to be dirty after that. But rinse them off. Or you could place it in a bag or some type of satchel. That way it doesn't get directly dirty. Or you can do that as well. But, let it get in the earth, because that's where it comes from. They come from the earth. The last method that you can use to clear your stones is basically a really simple way. Now, I don't recommend doing this all the time, but especially if you're in a rush, you just need to kind of clear out the energy and then place it or utilize it for whatever. Like, let's say you have a limited amount of time to meditate. You need to meditate. You need to get started. You're kind of in that phase already, and you just want to quickly pick up your stone. You feel it doesn't have enough energy. Just run some sage or some sweetgrass, or some Palo de Santo bark, burn any type of different smudge stick that you have. Just kind of run it through that smoke, and it will pick up all the good energy from running it through that smoke. So those are the ways in which you can charge your crystal or clear them. So most of those methods, will actually charge and clear them simultaneously. Especially with the sun, you get a lot of charge, the moon and the earth, as well as the sea salt, you get a lot of charge. Really, the smoke won't give you too much charge. That will really just clear it. So those are the things there. Dedicating your stones. Now, simply dedicating your stones just means that. It means you're going to intentionalize the energy. All this really is just you sitting down. Maybe you've meditated. Maybe you've done something to clear your mind, taken a couple of deep breaths. You have your stones in hand, and you're just going to speak a couple of words over them. I now dedicate this stone for its highest intentional good. You can name the stone. If it's a rose quartz, say, I now dedicate this rose quartz for its highest intentional good. And then you can end it with like a word of power, ashe, namaste, hotep, whatever you choose to end it out with. And that will actually dedicate that stone. If you have a very specific reason that you've acquired the stone, let's say it's the rose quartz to bring forth a loving relationship, put that into the dedication as well. If it's a hematite for protection purposes, bring that into the dedication as well. So that's a basic format. Of course, I have all this information on the blog, and you can just look up dedicating crystals on the blog, and the whole article with more details will be up there. So the fourth step in which to utilize, and now we finally get into the placement of the stones and actually how to dedicate them. The fourth step is going to be feng shui. Now, feng shui is a popular term. I'm sure we've all heard of it. It actually is essentially a form of life energy that flows throughout the whole planet. Feng shui literally means water and wind. This is an energy that can help you inside of your home with conducive for health, relationships, finance, reputation, creativity, blessings, career, and personal growth. By balancing the yin, feminine, and the yang, masculine forces, one can promote positivity in all aforementioned areas. And all of those areas are actually represented in each specific room or area in your home. And your home's actually divided into 9 different places, but 8 different places represented in traditional feng shui. And each of those different places can actually be utilized and invigorated by crystals. So I'm going to give you 3 corresponding crystals for each of those 8 areas. Now, this can be a little hard to verbalize to you, which is why I've made sure that I've included a visual aid in the notes that I'm going to allow for you guys to be able to download on the crystal blog. So if you guys want the notes, definitely make sure that you check out the blog afterwards. I'm going to give you all that information towards the end. Or if you ask for it, you can email me directly, all of that stuff. We can get into that later. But basically, these are the 8 areas for all intensive purposes, and these are the corresponding crystals that you can utilize in those 8 areas. In the area of career in your home, you can use carnelian, iron pyrite, and cinnabar. In the area of self-development, you can use chrysocolla, lapis lazuli, and morganite. In the areas of blessings or helpful people or travel, you can use jade, angelite, and black obsidian. For prosperity, you can use citrine, amethyst, adventurine, and those will do wonders in that particular area. I also wanted to note that each area has a specific positioning in the home. So that's why it's going to be really important that you guys make sure that you look at the actual chart, and you'll be able to see which way from the front of your house to the back of your house all of these areas are located. Family and health, you can use fuchsite, preonite, and citrine. For creativity, you can use ulexite, ametrine, and celestite. For love, you can use rose quartz, sugarlight, or lyramar. And for reputation, you can use carnelian, fire agate, and ruby. Now, one of the 2 most really important places that a lot of people always ask me about are prosperity and love and relationships. And really quickly, I'm just going to give you the prosperity or abundance and wealth corner in your home, and the love and the relationship area in your home. So imagine you're facing your house like you're about to enter inside of your front door. Not your side door, not your back door, not the most common entrance, but the front door. Now come in your front door and look for your farthest back left corner of your home. The farthest back left corner of your home is going to be your wealth and your prosperity corner, and the farthest back right corner of your home is going to be your love and your marriage corner. So those are the places where you can place the different stones for those two specific properties, and each other place has a different position. I'm not going to go through all of them again. You can get all that chart. You can look one up on any type of feng shui chart, or you can just Google that. Or you can get the feng shui chart that I'm specifically referencing on the blog after the call. Okay? So step 5 is going to be understanding crystal gridding. Now, I don't know if anybody is familiar with crystal grids or has heard of crystal grids, but basically crystal grids are specific alignments of crystals often arranged utilizing the concept of sacred geometry. These geometric shapes are often to amplify the resonance of these crystals and intensify the energy of their intention. When the crystal grid is set, it is then charged by a wand or intention stone that directs the energy of your intention through the grid, connecting an invisible line of light through each gem. Crystal grids are not just comprised of crystals. These powerful grids can incorporate herbs, flowers, precious metals, and even deity statues as powerful symbols of intention. So crystal grids are really amazing things that you can bring into your home. They're going to amplify that energy. They're going to give you a lot of good energy. And you can place them in the specific places that are corresponding to the feng shui of the home, or just, where you have sacred spaces set up for whatever reason. Or you could just, put them on the table, leave them out, whatever. You can place them wherever, again, your intuition is guiding you to place them. So I'm going to give you some stones to use in different types of grids. 3 grids I'm going to talk to you about right now are the prosperity grid, the protection grid, and the love grid. There are as many grids as there are purposes to use them for, and these, for all intents and purposes, are not the only ways you can set these grids up, and these are not the only crystals that you can use, but these are very basic examples of how you can use a crystal grid. So the prosperity grid is going to utilize the stones of aventurine, cinnabar, iron pyrite, rose quartz, citrine, amethyst, and moss agate. You don't have to use all of those stones. You can use some of them. You can use all of them, whatever you're led or whatever you feel led to use. And the shape of this particular grid should be the tetragrammaton. It's a really powerful shape. Tetragrammaton, for those who aren't sacred geometry inclined, this is a 6-pointed star, basically. It's a 6-pointed star in 3-dimensional form. So you can utilize that for prosperity. For your protection grid, you can use the stones of black tourmaline, black obsidian, smoky quartz, amethyst, red jasper, selenite, and hematite in the shape of a quadretra. Child, please, that sounds like a ghetto name. I'm sorry. Triquetra. That doesn't sound much better, but it's an actual shape. And the triquetra is basically the Trinity symbol for those who are familiar with the Trinity symbol in Christianity. It predates it, but that's one of the most popular triquetra symbols that you can see. So that's what it looks like. The love and the harmony grids can be utilized using the stones of rose quartz, citrine, sugarlight, rhodocite, Liramar, and the shape is the flower of life. Now, that's a very powerful shape that basically is the basis for all life patterns and all geometric patterns on the planet. And any of the grids that you set up, whether they be love, harmony, prosperity, protection, just because you felt like it, whatever, they can all be utilized in the flower of life pattern. But I really, really like it for the love and harmony grids just because it kind of has that vibe anyway. Now, clear quartz points are really important in this. You can utilize them in your actual grid itself because they amplify the energy and resonance of any of the stones that you place into the grid. And they can also be used as wands. So that's really awesome. You can, if you don't have a specific wand that you maybe bought or purchased, you can just get a long quartz crystal point and just use that as a wand to direct the energy. And that's actually really powerful, just as powerful, if not more powerful. All right? So that is crystal gridding in a very, very basic way. There are much more crystal grids. There's whole books written on crystal grids. There's so much information out there on the internet on crystal grids. And again, like I said, this is a basic understanding of all the different components that you can utilize to help to utilize where you can place these crystals inside of your home in very intentional and very powerful ways. The sixth step that I would definitely recommend anybody, and this is not so much a step as much as it is an item, but I'll go with step. The sixth step that you can utilize is utilizing pink salt as a whole, but specifically pink salt lamps. Now, pink Himalayan salt lamps are amazing purifiers of energy, air, and protective of all types of different type of invisible pollutants that we can't see. They bring positively charged atmosphere wherever you are. They're significantly amazing at helping with any type of health issues, and they actually neutralize the ions in the home, minimalizing the effects of extra low frequencies. So basically, we're on a phone right now. Most of us are on cell phones. I'm on a house phone, but it's still cordless. Therefore, there's a lot of radiation coming out of these different devices, laptops, computers, tablets, smartphones. The more advanced they get, the more horrible they get for your health. So pink salt lamps kind of help to minimize all the positive ionic frequencies that come off of these different devices. Yes, I said positive. Yeah, positive ions are the ones that you don't want. It's a little weird. But negative ions are actually the ones you do want. Those are the ones that come from things like summer rain. Like, you ever go outside and after the summer rain, it's just so, like, clear and fresh. And it's like, it's so wonderful outside. Feels renewed. That's a positive ionosphere that's created and simulated by thunderstorms, the ocean. If you go out to go to the beach, there's positive ions there. It's basically the natural frequency in which you're supposed to breathe in the air. So those are natural ions you're supposed to be around. They actually help your health tremendously. So some of the benefits of pink salt lamps are that they clean and deodorize the air. They reduce coughing. They're environmentally friendly. They don't use a lot of energy. They actually help to treat SAD or seasonally affective disorder. They also improve mood. They increase energy, reduce allergy and asthma symptoms. They help you to sleep. Oh, God knows I always need help with that. They neutralize electromagnetic energy, as I was talking about earlier. And they help ionize the room. So they're really, really, really important pieces of all of this. And I didn't really realize how amazing they were until I actually got one myself. So salt lamps and pink salt as a whole, you can actually, if you don't have a lamp, you can actually purchase a piece of pink salt rock, and that will have not the same amount of effect, but it definitely helps still. And even when you're trying to, purify the energy, you can just make a pink salt solution. You can find pink salt at most grocery stores now, and you can let it become one with the water in like a spray bottle or whatever, and kind of mix it up and spray it around your home. So you can make a pink salt mist. So pink salt as a whole is just amazing. And I think that's one of the things we don't think about when we think about crystals, but salt is a crystal. It's a crystallized form of sodium. So that's one of the other things, and that's the sixth step that I would definitely recommend anybody who's trying to align the energy of their home to definitely look into pink salt. Now, the seventh step or tip is setting up intentional and informal altars. Okay, so what do I mean by altar? Now, this word may trigger a little bit of taboo for some people, but altars are just spaces or sacred spaces in your home designed to alter your state of consciousness. There are many kinds of altars, but the most common in any culture are the personal altar, the ancestral altar, and the deity altar. Intentional altars, as they stand. These are places that you're very intentional about creating an altar space. I break altars into two types of altars. The intentional altar, which is an intentional space where you're very, very much so setting this up for that particular purpose, and then unintentional altars where you're kind of not so much. It's like a space that's charged with good energy, but it's not necessarily so formal, okay? So you have three types of intentional altars, and these three types of intentional altars are the ancestral altar, the personal altar, and the deity altar. So the ancestral altar, now this is one of the most common altars in any type of culture, whether it be Christian, whatever. People always set up memorials. Memorials are types of they're derivatives from altar or ancestral altar spaces. You can put down offerings of flowers, candles, sometimes even alcohol. These are all common ancestral gifts. And so setting up an ancestral space just allows for that medium, for that ancestral presence to become resonant. Now, ancestors are, of course, including direct family members who have passed on, people who you know and you may not have known as well. So those would be regarded as your ancestors. And then you also have celestial ancestors, but that goes a little deeper. But basically, crystals for those particular spaces would be as follows: rose quartz, ancestral quartz, black tourmaline, lodestones, and magnetite, as well as muki marbles. Now, all of those different crystals would be great for grounding the energy of your ancestral altar and allowing that energy to come in a protected, grounded form. So you're just not opening up this energy of this portal to just have anything come around. This is directly for your ancestors. So placing those crystals that I just mentioned on that altar are going to ease that level of communication and also help those ancestors to manifest into that realm just a bit easier. The personal altar. Now, this space is dedicated to your own personal growth. It is often a representation of your subconscious mind and laced with mementos, personal items, affirmations, and so on. This space is dedicated to reconnecting the lower and the higher selves. So, as we're on the spiritual journey, one of the most important and amazing things we could ever do is to reunite the lower and the higher self. That's actually what the whole journey of ascension is really all about. It's really allowing the highest self and the carnal, physical self to reunite and merge and become one. So that you're unifying your own consciousness, you're unifying your own power. And a personal altar is an amazing way to do that. The crystals that help for this type of space are clear quartz, lapis lazuli, moonstone, carnelian, chrysocolla, amethyst, and blue lace agate. There are other stones you can place on there. Depending on your birthstones, you can utilize the birthstones. You can utilize your zodiac stones. You can utilize all types of different stones on those personal places, but they will actually help to alter your own consciousness and help you to go deeper into your spiritual journey. The deity altar, which is an amazing intentional altar, this altar is for the dedication of a specific entity or group of entities, a place for their energy to be invoked and present in the home, adding to the spiritual power and density of this space. This can be used for angels, fairies, spirit guides, head archetypal energies, or ancestors who have ascended in the spiritual realm. And crystals for these altars will basically depend on that deity's energy. And like a couple examples would be like if you have an ori or a head, an Ifa, you can place moonstone, turquoise, blue lace agate on your altar for Yemonja or Yemenya. For Oshun, you could use coral, citrine, opal. For your angels, you could invite in celestite, angelite, clear quartz, and the list goes on depending on the deity itself. So each deity will have a very specific energy that you want to align the gemstones for, and those will help to ground that energy there. Now, I said there are two basic types of altars, and those will be the formal, which I just went over, and the informal, which are altar spaces in which there's no direct intention cultivated, but there's an overall healing and spiritual presence that can be done through interior decoration or design and how we represent ourselves in our homes. So these are spaces where we find naturally a lot of beautiful things. Let's say our living room spaces or our den spaces or even like our dining room spaces where there just may be a lot of light, there may be a lot of windows, there may be a lot of plants, there may be a lot of, you might find yourself naturally placing crystals in these areas. These are areas where you can focus that energy, especially utilizing feng shui, and start to place your crystals in those spaces as well. So placing crystals on your altars, informal or formal, is really going to be a powerful tool in beginning to cultivate the holistic power of your home. Now, for the last part of the tip that I'm going to talk about is sacred directions. Now, this is going to be a part of altars, but basically you can utilize this again, like I say, through feng shui or whatever, or with any of the other particular tips that I gave you. Now, the directions in which you place things are really, really important inside of the home. Each direction has its own specific energy, vibration, and characteristic, and even element. Especially according to the Native American traditions, but you also have different traditions that say different things about these different directions. But for all intents and purposes, I'm going to use the Native American traditions as a basis because they very, very much so paid attention to this type of energy. So the East was the elements of air, and it also resonates with higher visions, prophecies, and relationships. The West deals with water, adaptation, healing, intuition, and creativity. The North is earth, and it deals with manifestation, abundance, teaching, and sacred wisdom. The South is fire, it's life, death, and rebirth, as well as creation, the inner child, and overcoming obstacles, as well as change and strength. So you can utilize any of those particular directional realities inside of your home to place altars, to place gemstones, and to holistically cultivate the energy of your home. So this concludes our presentation portion. Everybody can unmute their phones. I would like to invite all of you to visit our online spirit shop, GemineyeCreations.etsy.com. That's Gemini Creations with a Z, .etsy.com, where you can find many crystals and products mentioned in our presentation, as well as spiritual jewelry and services. Of course, I'd love to extend to anybody who wants to visit the site a great coupon code, which is ANGEL999, angel spelled correctly, 999. So I'm going to open up for everybody the Q&A session, and we can ask our questions. If you have any questions about the presentation at all, you can unmute your phone pressing *6, and I'll begin to answer your questions.
Hello?
Hello. Peace and blessings. Who is this and where are you calling from?
This is Melissa Gilbert calling from North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Peace, Melissa. Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. The problem I'm having is I sent you a picture of my amethyst. Okay, so you said take it out of the necklace that it was in. Why is that? Why can't I wear it every day?
Oh, no, you can wear it every day, but the problem was there was a white residue, you said, on it?
Yes.
That you wanted to get rid of?
Right.
Just during the purification process, if you can take it out of the metal, would be best because the metal can oxidize inside of the water,
Okay.
the salt water. But and that would just be for a cleansing for both of the physical and the spiritual components of the amethyst crystal. So you really wouldn't want to have. There's no other method that would really do both. All the other methods that I mentioned are kind of more for the energetic part. They're not going to get rid of any of the physical things that accumulate on the stone. If you don't want to take it out of the metal, you don't have to. You could just like douse like cloth damply with the salt water and kind of get in between the metal and try not to touch the edges too much so that it doesn't rust or oxidize. And that should have a similar effect. Again, I'm not sure if this white residue is built up because have you been wearing it so often that it just kind of started appearing on there?
I had just got it, and I looked down and seen it. But I'm going to take it out and use it on my altar. So I'm going to get the pink salt, soak it in there, and use it on my altar. I think it would be better that way anyway.
Okay, that definitely works. But the salt would be the easiest, safest way to clean it. So that would be the best way that I would recommend to do that.
Thank you much.
No problem. Does anybody else have a question?
Peace and love. This is Sister Nazura out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Peace and blessings. What's your question?
I just needed you to recap the stones for the crystals for self-development and blessings. I wanted to see if I had it written down.
Okay, no problem. Let me just go to that part in the outline really quickly. Okay, for self-development, that's in feng shui. I've got a big outline in front of me. Hold on. Oh. Okay, so self-development is chrysocolla, lapis lazuli, and morganite.
Morganite, okay. And for the blessings?
That's, for the blessings, it's jade, angelite, and black obsidian.
Okay, all right. Those are the ones I had written down. Thank you so much.
No problem.
All right. Peace and love.
Do you have any other questions?
No, I don't. Besides, I just cracked. I was traveling, and I cracked a piece of agate. It was a necklace I was wearing, I think, at the airport or something. It dropped. And I was thinking to myself, I really like this necklace. I had just got it. And I was like, should I glue it back together again? Is that like a crazy question?
It's not. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't personally glue any of my stones to anything outside of, like, sometimes I'll use a very small amount of industrial glue on some of, like, maybe an earring or something, like, to make sure that it stays in place. But I'm a big naturalist when it comes to the stone. So because it has that chemical compound in there, it just kind of disrupts the energy flow of the crystal. You can kind of wire wrap it back together if that's possible at all. But most of the time when jewelry, either like crystal jewelry, either busts or cracks, it's because it's not just regular jewelry. There's a meaning behind it. Yeah. So I would pay attention to how it cracked. Think about maybe what was going on at the time that it cracked. Also think about what are the properties of agate and what is that saying to you. So there's always messages inside of those types of events. That stuff doesn't happen for no reason at all.
Okay. I think that's a good point about the rewire. My friend actually wraps stones, so maybe I'll have her take a look at it.
Okay, yeah, definitely. That's a great option. That way you're using something that's a precious metal. You're not, tainting it with the glue. But, yeah, that's a better option.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much for calling in. Thank you for being with us on the call tonight. Appreciate your feedback and your questions. Does anybody else have a question? Thank you so much. Does anybody else have a question or comment or anything?
Yes. My name is Kimberly.
Hi, Kimberly. Thank you so much for calling in. Where are you calling from?
Decatur, Illinois.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for calling in. What is your question?
I received a crystal that was broken, at least 2 of them. And I just heard you mention that means something. So what could that mean for me?
Well, what are the crystals that were broken?
They were a black tourmaline and an amethyst cluster.
Amethyst. Oh, did you purpose them for the concept of protection or the property of protection?
Yes.
Okay. That means that there's some type of force or energy that's trying to block that type of energy from coming to you. So it's trying to block the protective energy. So what I'd immediately do is, first and foremost, I'd sage the whole house. That's first, number one. I'd sage the whole house. I'd go in every corner, starting from the east and going all the way through each corner of the home. So I'd go back to the eastern corner. And then I'd open up the windows and burn a white candle. And that will kind of help to purify the energy in the home. Because if you're purchasing that for protection directly, and they came to you broken, that's definitely not a good sign. That there's definitely some forces trying to block that energy coming into your life for that reason. Sorry.
Okay. Wow. So I should get on this as soon as possible, right? I got to get on this tonight.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Go ahead, get your sage together. Do you have sage in the house right now?
Yes, I do have some, and I have been burning that, and I have been smudging around the house, but I really haven't hit the corners. You say hit the corners, and what else now?
The corners. Mm-hmm. Get the corners from the east all the way clockwise around. So you want to hit from the most eastern corner in your home, and then every corner from the east outward. And then you're going to come all the way around back to the eastern corner. Because that's the thing. Okay, so when we talk about negative energies or negative forces or negative spirits or whatever, people like to get real spooky about it, oh my God, it's a spirit. Okay, sometimes it's not that deep. Sometimes it's just really stagnant negative energy. And that's actually where these entities can manifest through, is when the ions in the home are imbalanced. That's why the pink salt and all that and the sage and all of that smudging is so important. Because it's reinvigorating the ions. Once the ions are balanced in the home, negative entities can't even get into that space. So the corners is one of the places where we kind of neglect energy, period. There's cobwebs in the corner, there's dirt in the corner you didn't even see, you know what I mean? Sometimes we're never in the corner, so we don't really get to clean the corner much. So corners are one of those places where negative and stagnant energy tends to build up very quickly. So by saging directly in the corners, going from the top to the bottom and then from the bottom to the top, starting at that eastern point, that's one of the ways you bless your home. So after you do that, you can burn something like frankincense and myrrh, or you can spray some rose water or Florida water in that area, and that will kind of bring and lift the vibration of the home up after you sage it and clear it out. And you want to burn that white candle because it doesn't have to be a huge white candle, like a 7-day white candle. It can just be like a tea candle, like a white tea candle, but you want to burn that while you're doing the smudging, because that's going to help to guide any of the negative energy out and pull any of the positive energy in. So after you smudge, open the window and light the candle.
Okay.
And that will kind of help out with that. If it gets really intense, contact me. If that doesn't help, then you got to go a little bit deeper and do some protection work. But I think that should work. It just probably, you honestly just really need a thorough cleansing. Like, I don't like to go too hard too fast. I like to start things at, level 1, then we'll see how it goes from there. But that would definitely be something I would pay attention to, like, because those stones are for protection, so that makes sense with that.
Now, I had this dream. I know you got to go, but I had this dream before I ordered my stones. And I knew I wanted to buy some crystals. This is stuff that's new to me, but I had been looking into it, and I wanted to buy crystal, and I kept asking myself, I was asking, my guide, what should the first crystal be? And I asked repeatedly. I finally had this dream where I'm standing, I believe, with my guide. And my guide hands me a black tourmaline, and it was the raw one. And he said to put it in my mouth. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, I had already read about the black tourmaline, about how toxic it was, so I didn't want to put it in my mouth. But I trust my guide, so I put it in my mouth where I held on to it, and I just kept from holding, I just kept from letting my tongue really touch the tourmaline. And then when I did that, he said, pull it out. He said, I really didn't want you to put that in your mouth. I just want you to know how bad you need this black tourmaline.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's definitely a deeper thing. And so if it came to you, Craggs, still use it. Don't think that just because it's broken that the power is gone from the crystal. The crystal is still very powerful, no matter what piece it is in. Because most of the times when we get crystals, they're broken off from a really, really big piece of crystal. So, being broken as a crystal is not a bad thing. But at the same time, it still means something if it was intended to be whole as a certain way and it came to you a different way, or it falls or whatever. So I definitely pay attention to that. Again, like I said, try the sage. If that doesn't help and you're still experiencing issues, I would definitely contact me via the blog or whatever, and we can do a mini session or something together, and I can go into some more details of what other things we could do to protect the home. Okay?
Yes. All right. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for your question.
Okay.
Does anybody else have a question? Question or comment? Anyone else? All right. So, just going to hold for 2 seconds. Any questions? Because sometimes, some people be struggling with their phones or whatever the case may be. All right, cool. Hello? Okay. Great. So that's going to wrap everything up. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Make sure you check out the Spiritual Shop as well as liking us on Facebook, facebook.com/Gemineye Creations with an S. You can check for all the call notes. They'll be available for download on our blog, Gemineye Creations with an S, .wordpress.com. That's GEMINEYE Creations with an S, .wordpress.com. And make sure to tune in next month for our next conference call. The topic will be Crystals Inside of You, How Gemstone Therapy Works. That'll be February 24th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. All right, thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in. Love you all, and stay blessed. All right, peace, everyone.
Bye.